Hey everybody, we're live on WCJV Digital Broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. This is Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio with your host Roger Belt and your co-host Cindy John Pierre.
Hi Roger, how you doing?
I am doing wonderful, and we have Lord Rick Rowe, and there's a reason why I called this the Lord Rick Rowe Comeback Show, because we're going to go back and kind of go over a little bit of what we talked about last time when Rick was on, because we had such a bad reception and a lot of stuff kind of got jarbled. And anyway, without further ado, Lord Rick Rowe, say hello.
What's up, everybody?
It's
good to be here again.
Well, we're honored to have you back, sir. We went over a lot of stuff last time, and a lot of it got chewed up and spit out like a rabid wolf or something got a hold of it. But anyway, hopefully we won't have no problems this time around. And we were talking about, and I love the ghost towns, and we were talking about the ghost towns, and the picture that I put on the, I used a different one this time, but the one with the truck or van or whatever it was there that you were by, where exactly?
Oh, yeah.
Where was that at again?
That's Kingston, Nevada. That sits right in the center of the state of Nevada. And to get to it, well, you have two ways. You can take the highway and cut across some dirt road, or you can go over the Toyabe mountain range, which is really intense because you got to off-road over rocks, you got to go through creeks, you got to climb up on this peak with snow, and, you know, the tires could slip, you could go off, and you could die. But it's a lot of fun. And any day I go out investigating, I come close to dying, is the best day of my life, because it means I did my job.
Well, and the adrenaline flow's got to be like just raging, you know.
Oh, of course. It's you know, it's one of those things. It's like the more you do, the more addicting it becomes. And so when I go on these investigations, there's a combination of things. We don't just go in a place, sit down, and be like, hey, let's have coffee and just let the recorders run. There's a lot of energy and work that gets put all the way from driving to the location, hiking at the location, getting what you need to get, doing your research, and then getting out of the location. And of course in one piece, because you could, like I said, you could go off a cliff and it's game over. There's no second chance.
Dita said to say hello for her.
Awesome.
In the chat room.
Hello. Yeah, I got the chat room open. But see, I'm such an energetic person that even when I do radio shows, I never look at the computer. I always try to concentrate on questions and all that jazz.
Right. Well, we get in the chat room and have a ball most of the time. But anyway, you were talking about, which one was it that you were talking about that they've got it all boarded up and you can't go in the buildings and...
Bodie's boarded up.
Yeah.
Bodie's pretty haunted, and that's a couple hours south of me, and I want to go back, but last time I was there, I ran into a person that cleaned bathroom, and they they took their truck, their little golf cart, and they tried to literally run me over, and I'm just like, whoa, because they didn't want me going to the cemetery. It closed at 5, and I'm like, look, man, just want to get a few photos. I'm like, because of guys like me, I put these places on the map, and when we find evidence, that means for that town, that ghost town, the money they'll make, because now you got a bunch of influx of ghost hunters, television shows, all those things.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Bodie is all boarded up, and only 10% of the town remains, maybe 5 out of 100%. So you're talking a couple hundred structures, and that's only 5%. So it's a huge ghost town. But everything you see in that valley, all the open spaces, that used to be part of the town. It's all gone, and you really can't get in some places. I snuck in a few places. I was able to get one of the boards off and go in because I wanted to know what's with this town, because people say it's cursed, it's haunted. You have about 5, 6 really mainstream ghost stories passed down through the generations, And I was just filming one of the cabins. They have these miner cabins, and I caught a shadow entity on film inside, and there's no way to get in there. You have a few slats that you can stick the camera in and maybe film. I don't know why I decided to film it, but in the middle of my film, I was just walking up and saying, "Here you see a miner's cabin, blah, blah, blah." And when I got home, I was shocked to have seen an entity that I captured on film.
That's awesome.
So these things do happen, right? They happen.
Yeah, they do. You know, and a lot of times people aren't expecting stuff when they actually get it. You know, they're expecting it's going to be like any other time, you know, and there's not going to be anything going on, you know, and I'm just going to film the scenery and, you know, and talk about what went on there, whatever, you know, and then you go back over it and you're like, where the heck did that come from? You know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what happens with a lot of ghost towns. I'll go to some of them, I'll take a few readings and some EVP, and then I'll do a little video footage, and then we'll examine what we have. And sometimes I'll tell you, you may not get something when you go in these places, and you might. That's the chance. That's the gamble you take. And to me, it doesn't matter, because as a paranormal investigator, I've gotten every type of evidence you could imagine. There's nothing else for me to overcome, because I've seen it all, I've done it almost all, but it's for our viewers. So if we don't get nothing at a place, we can still give our viewers the history and all these great things, you know? So, yeah, definitely.
That's, you know, with me, when I go to a place and everything, it's not just about the haunted part of it, it's about the history part of it. And you get to be in a place that's, you know, maybe 100 years old, you know, and nobody's, you know, been in for a while. And it's just really interesting to see, especially the old colonial-style houses and Victorian-style houses. Those things are awesome.
Well, I did a Victorian-style ranch house up in the middle of the state of Nevada, and I was just driving to go to Kingston, and I made the wrong turn and drove about 10 miles out into the expanse, and I found an abandoned Victorian ranch. So, of course, I'm going to do what I always do. If I see it, I'm going to visit it and absorb the history. And this place is from the 1800s. Everything was handcrafted.
Exactly. You don't see that anymore.
Yeah, you don't. People don't take any pride in their architecture or their projects.
Well, now it's build it real fast and sell it. Build it real fast and sell it. You know, they use the cheapest stuff they can find, and then they whip it together as quick as they can, and you know, and get it on the market. That's the whole scheme of it. Back in the day, everything was handcrafted and, you know, and unique, and I love it. If I ever could afford to build a house, I would find somebody to build me a Victorian, like the ones they used to build.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I was reading an article the other day in my magazine that I get, and it said that in Detroit, although a lot of homes are being destroyed, many of the historical homes are bidding at $500 and up, and all them homes have ghosts in them. If I was there, that's what I would be looking in, is the homes. But I'm out west, which I enjoy being out west, because this is where all the aliens and the Bigfoot are. And, you know, if you could go look for Bigfoot and then stop by a ghost town and get some ghosts, that's a pretty good day.
Yeah, it's kind of like two for the price of one, you know.
Oh yeah, you gotta be very diverse when you're out there investigating the paranormal.
Well,
and I see it all the time.
And the way you do things and everything, you have opportunities to do both pretty much at the same time. You know, like maybe you're on the way to a ghost town and you go through in a way that you can, you know, do the Bigfoot search. So, you know, it's like double the fun. You know, it's like double mint gum.
Yeah. I mean, I never try to label myself as just one thing, because the paranormal is so diverse. And there is a lot of stuff yet to be discovered out there. Don't get me wrong. But I have people all the time contact me. They join my group, and they'll be like, I investigate the paranormal, but the only thing they ever look for is ghosts. And it's like Bigfoot needs attention, you know, and UFOs and all these miracles that happen and metaphysical things that occur. And it's just, there's so much out there. Creatures, new animals and cryptids. It's a very extensive field.
You know, and there's places that still haven't been like totally investigated, so you don't know what's lying out there, you know.
You have to, the reason why we do these places is not just the history, but when we come back with evidence, then I can sit there and say, hey, this place is haunted. Kind of like when I did the Sunny Acres Orphanage. We visited once during the day, I had gotten EVPs, visited at night, had gotten EVPs, got a couple apparition shots, and then I could sit there and say, this is one of the most haunted places in this city. But I have to be there. Just because I don't get anything doesn't mean there's no energy, because some ghost, it's a right time, right place sort of thing. It might be at midnight, could be 3 in the morning, where that ghost just passes through and you get that EVP or that apparition shot. But it is, you got to do the field work. You got to do the field work to produce the results. That's what it comes down to.
And I've been on investigations where I didn't get anything at all, not even an EVP. But
really, yeah, it happens.
You could go to that same place 2 or 3 nights later or days later and get all kind of stuff. It just depends, because they don't always, act for you on cue.
Right.
So if somebody goes once and don't get anything and they don't go back, it's their loss,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes you got to do more extensive research. There's been places, there's a mill that's at an old ghost town not far from where I live, and they recently tore it down, but in my opinion, that was one of the most haunted places in Nevada. And I love that place. I went back 4 or 5 times because every time I went, we had a sighting of a ghost, or we had gotten a bunch of EVPs. The first time I got a bunch of EVPs, someone robbed me. And so I ended up not being able to put them on the site. And it was very disheartening. And then I bounced back, and I'm like, screw those people. I'm going to go back. I'll get more EVPs. And that night I had 20 really good EVPs. So I made up for what was stolen. But you get a lot of, in Nevada, mills and mines in these ghost towns. So when you go to a ghost town, you definitely want to hit the industrial section. Those are places where men have died, miners have died, of horrible deaths. And their ghosts are still present to this day at those sites.
Mary Ann was talking about in the chat room about somebody leaving a rusty old car behind that was rusted into the ground, and they had it towed away, and something about a little black dog coming in the house. And when they towed the car away, there was a skeleton, I guess, where they could tell it was a little black dog. So, I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff.
Oh, I get animal EVPs all the time. I'll be in the middle of some ghost town, and I'll get a dog barking, and there's no dogs, and it's right near the recorder. I've had a cat. I did a pet cemetery. I once had a cat meow, and I'm a very observant person. So when I go to a place, I'll know if a human being's there, if an animal's there. I'll notice the fly on the wall. That's just how I am. You do this for years and years, you're going to notice everything. Even when I'm not working on the paranormal, I notice things around my house. It's like, is there a draft? Why is the TV turning on? Why is the cupboard slamming? Every little thing bothers me. It's just being a good investigator is also being a meticulous one. So you can work with pets, you can get ghost trains, and you can get ghostly people or other entities, possibly even from other dimensions, because those exist too on this planet.
Have you ever, when you were in any of these ghost towns, have you ever heard wagons on the road or anything?
That's no, but I've heard horses. So you got to think that back in the Wild West days, they had rode horses in the town. They used horses to travel with to the mines. It was just mainstream traveling. And today, when you're out in the wild, because I love being in the West, I like hiking across Nevada, because you'll see wild horses, and you can almost go up to them. You can't quite pet them, but you can get close enough to them. And that tradition has been around for decades. Of course, a lot of people want to hunt them and shoot them and kill them and eat their meat. And yeah, I don't know, the state wants to get rid of them all. And now a lot of conservative people, or people who are in the conservation of wildlife, those type of people have petitioned that the horses not be put on ranches, that they be released back into the wild. So right now there's many horses being released, and I see them all the time. I have to go, if I go to different towns to pick up food or whatever I need out here, I'll pass wild horses constantly. They're everywhere. But the problem is people don't want them around, and that's part of the Wild West. That's part of history. And so if the wild horses are gone, it's definitely not going to feel like the West. That's one of the reasons why I like living where I do, because I can do a little bit of everything. I could check out the wild horses, go inside a mine and get a ghostly mine, or come outside the mine, have lunch in a cemetery, then go from the cemetery up in the mountains and go look for Bigfoot. It's a never-ending quest for the truth. That's what it comes down to.
Okay, I have a question. Rick, can you tell me, like, okay, horses, there's buffalo out there, there's all kinds of animals, and of course the, Native American population. Do you see a lot of Native American spirits, or maybe, the ghost of wild animals like the buffalo or anything?
I've seen ghostly animals, but I've never seen a ghostly buffalo. And a lot of the sites that I go to date back to about 8,000 BC, including the site where the North American mummies were, which is near my house also. And those sites do have energy. But you'll get an EVP, and it'll be in some language you don't know. Now, could it be Native American? Quite the possibility. But as far as seeing Native American ghosts, not really. Unless when you're relating to when I was back east, we used to look for skinwalkers, and I would see things, sometimes wolf-like creatures go up into the woods and just vanish. We would see things like that, and they could be Native American spirits, because the Native American spirits use beasts to try to communicate spiritually, such as wolves, different animals, different wildlife. And you would never know. But animals can show up as spirits, and those animals could be Native American energy. It's kind of complex, because you have to understand how entities and ghosts work. And basically, a ghost can manifest itself to whatever it wants to be. And so the Native Americans practiced, the shamans did, of turning into a wolf or some other animal. And so in New York, that's very common, and we did investigate some cases like that, definitely.
Now, didn't they call that shape-shifting or whatever?
Shape-shifting, there's a lot of names for it. But basically, a shaman is supposed to connect with spirits and nature. Some of them have even connected with alien life, because as you know, UFOs are more prevalent on Native American reservations. And a lot of times the elders and the chief, a UFO will land right in front of the house, they'll go walk right out to it, get in the ship, and come out 20 minutes later. Because Native Americans, they're like, oh, it's just lights in the sky. It's just, they have names for these beings from space and ghosts and all. They have their own little lore names. But they're not like the U.S. or like other world governments. If a UFO lands on a reservation, they're not going to take out their guns and hunt it. They respect all life. However, if it was the U.S. government and you have a ship flying across the desert, the first thing they're going to do is release a couple F-14s to take it down. Forget about landing and communicating with this intelligent being. All they want is to harbor that technology. And that's where I see a problem. And I think that disclosure needs to be put forth, because who knows what they're doing? Who knows what they're playing with? I mean, would you want some soldier who has no experience playing with an alien weapon that could destroy the Earth? Probably not. So the Native Americans, they're more accepting of these type of paranormal anomalies and different things. It's really not as far-fetched as you think. Especially the skinwalkers. That's what a skinwalker basically is. I've seen maybe 2 skinwalkers in my life, and I've seen things turn into animals and disappear. I've seen monsters in the desert. I've seen Bigfoot. These things do exist. And the elders and the Native Americans, they are very in tune with those things, especially out west. This is all Native American grounds, all of it.
So I'm sure you've investigated burial mounds and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Especially when I lived in Florida for 4 years.
Did you see any like Native American spirits around there? Or?
Honestly, I've gone to a lot of mounds because I did a lot of research up in Florida, and they had 3-4 mounds. Some of them are 120, 150 feet high, and you could go hike on the boardwalk, or some of them you just have to walk up at your own risk. And a lot of ghost hunters in Florida would tell stories. They'd be like, I've seen balls of light, and spirits, and drums, and everything else, and I've never experienced anything but peace at those places. And I've gotten a lot of criticism because I go to a lot of Native American sites. I sit on mounds. I do all that stuff. But I am more connected than other people. So I have a deeper understanding for spirituality and all those things. So I don't really have an issue. But there was an issue once. Now, this is not so much a ghost, but one time I took a rowboat out to this island. And I'll tell you, you talk about scary. We had hundreds of eyes looking at us. They were alligators. And the boat's only made for 2 men. We had 3 men in the boat. And, you know, all of us got guts. I mean, we drink beer, you know. So we get on the boat's shaking, tipping. The alligators got their jaws out of the water. We're like, if we fall in this water, we're dead. We're going to get eaten. We're in their terrain. But we go out to this place called Owl Island. And when you get off at Owl Island, they have totem poles. When you enter the woods, it's a really creepy place. And you hike back about a mile down on the island, maybe a mile and a half, and it dead ends at the mount, or as they call shell middens in Florida, because they mix the shells and the oyster shells and all those things together with maybe bones wrapped in cloth or artifacts, things like that. Well, we went to the mound. The guys and I, we drank a brew. At the time, I wasn't an EVP tech because for years I put it off. I'm just like, I'll find somebody. Now I just do all the positions. But we sat on the mound, we drank beer, we smoked the doob, and then we got off the island and got in the boat and had gotten to some dry land. Well, about 5 minutes of walking, the wind started picking up, there was lightning in the sky, it started to rain, and we ended up calling for a ride home. Within the moment I had gotten home, a tornado came across the island with 140, 150 mile an hour winds, destroyed the whole island. Everything got destroyed. The trees, it destroyed the mound that we sat on. A tornado went right through it. All the trees broke, all the trees fallen. Skipped over the water, took out a whole neighborhood, and of course, you know, at the time, some guy called the cops on me because he said I looked suspicious walking through the neighborhood. Well, let's see, I just rowboat with alligators. What do you think? And I got really mad at the guy. I'm like, I hope your roof blows down, you know. And that next day, I woke up, the whole town was gone. I missed my house, but like most of the town was gone. There was houses gone. That dude that called the cops on me had no house. It was like gone off the thing, and the whole island was gone. I was like, wow, may the powers be, something went on here. Maybe the spirits were angry at me, but the thing is, a tornado missed my house. It destroyed the whole town. And it could have been an energy with the spirits because I hated that town. I was like sitting on the mountain. I'm like, man, I hate this town. You know, people are just such jerks because being a paranormal investigator there, people don't accept you with open arms. They shun you. They think you're a freak. It's very hard to be a paranormal investigator based on where you're located, and that was not the place. So after I was on the island and the tornado hit, I was just shocked. I was like, if I would have been on that island just a little longer, we would have been dead. That tornado, you cannot fight that tornado of over 100 mile an hour winds, trees snapping and falling, very subtropical, and then you wake up and you drive around town and all the stores are gone. There's nothing left of the stores. McDonald's is gone. The restaurants are gone. Houses, trailer park, completely wiped out. It's just a bad storm. So there is powerful things out there, forces we do not understand. They do exist. And whether we're, as humans, if we're the catalyst, that could be a possibility. Maybe we bring on these energies. Maybe we combine them with the Native American spirits. But things can react.
I have a question for you. Mary Ann in the chat room had a question for you. She wanted to know if you ever went to the Skinwalker Ranch.
No. You know why I haven't gone to the Skinwalker Ranch is because they have cameras around the property. They also have guards. There's also military there. It's not something you really want to mess with. Now, am I afraid to mess with that place? Hell no. I'd walk in that place with a grin on my face. Alone. I'll do it alone. I really don't care. But the thing is, you're wasting your time. Just like Groom Lake, it's great to go out near Area 51 and go out to Groom Lake. You could see a lot of UFOs. But the moment you get near the gate, you're going to have military on you. And so, same thing with the Skinwalker Ranch. Sure, go out there and park, but they'll chase you out of there. So it's kind of pointless. It's the same thing when I went to Area 51, they chased me out of there. And just like I was almost arrested by NASA and had a gun, they put a gun to my head. NASA put a gun to my head, which is pretty I don't know. I mean, that's kind of cowardly, but whatever. You know, told them I was looking for aliens, man, and then that was it. They got really aggressive with me. So it's like, you guys must be covering something up out here. But they, you know, that's how people are. There's a lot of closed-minded people in the world, but there's also a lot of people trying to censor and cover up the truth. And it's my job to find it at all costs, even if it's my own life. If I die and someone finds my camera footage, then, you know, they'll know what happened unless someone takes it, right?
I watched the episode of the X-Files where the kids were sneaking through the fence and going up there and watching the UFOs and all that. And in actual reality, I would love to be able to do that, you know, to be able to slip up in there somewhere and just sit in the high grass or whatever and watch what goes on at night.
You know, you could do that. The thing is, what people don't realize, you could do that anywhere. You could go anywhere at night in Nevada. I drive down 30, 40, 50-mile dirt roads. And when I'm out there, and sometimes I don't get done with the ghost town until nightfall, I could see every star. I could see every UFO. I could see every object in the sky. I don't have to be at the Skinwalker Ranch or Area 51 because there's so many UFOs out here. All you have to do is look up to the sky, and you'll see them. They're everywhere. But people don't look up to the sky enough.
Right.
And I would love to sneak into base. I'd love to sneak into base. Just like you. I'd like to go through the fence and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Who wouldn't?
Everybody would, probably. We're going to have to...
The alien.
We're going to have to do call letters real quick. We're live on WCJV, digital broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. You're listening to Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio with Roger Belt and Cindy Jean-Pierre and our guest, Lord Rick Rowe, and we're talking about UFOs, aliens, Area 51, and just all kind of interesting stuff. So everybody stay tuned. And when we come back out of the fence, are we going to let Mulder and Scully take us to a restaurant for a burger?
Excuse me? I lost you there for a second.
I said, when we come back out of the fence there at Area 51, are we going to let Mulder and Scully take us to a restaurant for a burger?
I already been to that restaurant. Not only did I win my pool tournament, but I ate good, I drank good, and then I scared the crap out of everybody that was with me because I took them in the middle of nowhere and they were all like freaking out. They're like, the first place I took them was a ghost town. You had to hike through this canyon of these big rocks for like 3 miles. And then when you get to past the ghost town and all the foundations, there's a mine at the end of the road. And the mine is 2-3 miles. And you climb these debris piles and you get gifted. Because at the end of the mine is a giant cavern with a bunch of silver sparkles. It looks like being in a planetarium. It's gorgeous. But I scared them. Because that night we also went out to Area 51. And then we were chased. They thought I was crazy. I'm like, you don't want these people catching you. See, the problem is people don't want to trust me because they think I don't know what I'm doing or what I'm talking about. But the thing is, I actually do. And I told them, if we get caught, there is a chance that they will take you and you will never be seen again. Because I do believe that the military does take a certain amount of people for experimentation, for biological experimentation, maybe integrating mutations in the genes, or maybe a contract with aliens where they're saying, hey, we'll give you this many humans if you give us this much technology.
Right.
So Area 51, I mean, you see hangars outside Area 51, but what people don't understand is below Area 51 is a city. Just like all the other major bases, they're all connected by a high-speed train underground. They're very well built up. The government and all its employees, Congress, they get to go underground. So if something happens here, an alien invasion, whatever, you are stuck on the top of this planet, on this blue rock. So for me, I always try to tell people, I tell my kids, I try to take my investigators and I really whip them in shape, and it's hard. It's hard because they don't want to, and I'm like, look, in the apocalypse, do you want to get raped, killed, robbed? I'm like, what about aliens? Do you want to fight? Or do you want to just sit there and die? Because I believe that with enough training and experience, when you can mix it in with the paranormal, you can apply that to regular life. So all the work that I do, these ghost towns and this off-roading, it's for more than just ghost and the paranormal. It's about my survival and protecting my friends and things in the future. I'm training to be a better off-roader along cliffs and to be able to do things most people cannot do. So there's a much deeper quest that goes on within the paranormal and ghost society.
Like,
we get paranormal, Roger. We get paranormal, but we also got to keep in mind there's about 20 other things going on too, besides the paranormal. You got to preserve these places, because if you don't preserve them, they're going to burn down. They're not going to be here, and then what are you going to have to investigate? Nothing.
That's true.
So you just got to be the way I am. Is I'm a huge historian. And history is a huge thing for me, and I'm slowly getting my site caught up. I have about 30, 40 more cases to add. In each case, I can do about 2 cases a week on my site. But coming up, I have a lot of ghost towns, a lot of historic buildings, a lot of historic sites that I've done. And I've seen it time and time again, where I do a historic place, it burns down a year later, and I'm the only one online with videos and pictures.
I was thinking about,
that's disheartening.
When you were talking about the stuff earlier there about the cliffs and, being able to move around and do all that, reminded me of that movie where the Russians came.
Red Dawn?
Yes, and they all went up into the mountains and, kind of fought their own little war. I thought that was the way it's going to wind up one of these days.
It could. I think World War III is upon us. I feel it in my bones. And so I'm very concerned, because for me, being a paranormal investigator, I've seen a lot of my life. So I know that the possibilities of what exists out there, but anything could happen. Your life could change tonight. You could wake up tomorrow and find out there's a global epidemic and about 90% of Earth's population is going to die off, and you're going to have to do what you can do to survive. So when I do my paranormal work, I always try to keep in mind this is also for my survival, because I climb mountains all the time. I'm training to be a better hiker, to go further distances, and that helps me too. Because if I'm going to look for Bigfoot, you have to go deep in the wilderness. You can't just park near the road like Finding Bigfoot and say, hey, I got myself a Squatch. It just doesn't work that way. I would like to see these shows hike the distances I do. They should put a camera on me, and I should be the drill sergeant and take them out. And I guarantee every one of them will quit within the first 1 or 2 miles, because that's just it. They don't understand you have to do the field work to produce the result. And you have to work hard, and not everybody is fit to do what I do. But people need to go out and they need to explore. Even if it's something historic, people need to do those things.
Remember, you said something about being with a television crew somewhere. They was hunting for the hellhounds.
Oh God, yeah, it's a
I know. I brought up a sore spot.
Yeah, it's all good. The problem is with that show is that they wanted me to do the first and the second season, and then they found a couple celebrities. One's a porn star. The other one, I don't know. He's fried. I mean, Jack Osborne is fried. I've met him. But the thing is that they brought me on to help them with the whole hellhounds investigation. And there was, at first I was told by the crew, it's just going to be me and maybe one other guy doing the filming. I get there, I arrive in Las Vegas, there's like 30 guys, they're all watching the filming. Then they get on ATVs, they ride 50 feet and they film it. It's all acting. It's all set up the way they want to do it. And the hellhounds, what they did is they brought in this German Shepherd. And then they gave the girl, the female investigator, a little treat. And they put the German Shepherd out in the desert. And then she shakes the treat on camera, and the dog runs. And then you got the cameraman. He's got a thermal imager. His camera's a thermal. So any animals will give off red thermal imaging. And that's what he did. He filmed the German Shepherd. They faked the whole thing. When they promised me, they're not going to do that. Because I told them, I said, I'm not going to be involved with any fake garbage. I said, because I live the real dream. I see things, and they are real. I don't have to fake it. I can go out. If you give me enough hours out in the field, I will find your answers. If you give me the funding, I'll find your answers. I'm good at what I do. But the thing is that these shows are such a joke, and people watch them and people believe them, and they think that these ghost hunters and these paranormal investigators are actually doing real scientific research, and it's not true. They get the best hotels, they get the best food, they get pizza delivered to them at every paranormal investigative site. They get paid to travel. They get a couple days off to go do what they want. They get paid after season 2, season 3. You start making thousands of dollars per show. And all they do is have their everything handed to them. There's no work involved. Now, if you go out to a ghost town and you off-road and you know you're going to get a flat possibly, and you go 50 miles out in the desert and you're at that ghost town climbing around mines and risking your life, and you get an EVP, it's because you worked for it. That's real evidence. But TV can fake anything.
Exactly.
They can fake these, you know? They can
Well,
fake
and
it.
I was going to ask you about, I remember watching an episode of Ghost Hunters where I don't remember where they were, but I remember that they were getting like these readings on this chair, right, you know, and everything, and then supposedly after a couple of minutes the ghost or spirit gets up and moves off, and there's on the FLIR there's a heat spot in the chair where he was sitting, or it was sitting, and
Right.
I wouldn't think that they would actually put off a heat signature, because is it not normal that whenever a spirit's around, it's a cold area, a cold spot?
Yeah, right. I know what you're talking about. It's all thermal, hot, cold.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they were showing a heat signature where it should have been showing a cold signature.
Well, you're right, because somebody probably sat in the rocker,
Exactly.
and so the
And they
rocker's a little
edited
hot.
it to where it shows the heat signature, and yeah, that makes sense. Okay, Dita in the chat room said that a hellhound would not put off a heat signature, would it? Because ghosts don't have blood pumping or whatever.
That's correct. That's exactly what I was trying to tell them. I'm like, I don't really know about that. I mean, maybe Bigfoot, because it's a living, breathing creature, so that's understandable. But a creature that's an entity, that's not even, that could be from another dimension or ghostly or a conscious energy, you're probably not going to pick that up with thermal imager. And that's what they did. They used it on the dog. I was there when they brought the dog in, and I'm like, they're like, oh, it's only just for acting. And I'm like, no, it's for fraud in the public is what it's for. They didn't like me. They were going to work with me. They wanted to work with me on other shows. And they pretty much fired me because they didn't like that I was giving away their secrets online. I was secretly taking pics and video, and they were threatening to sue me, and I was just laughing about it because it's like, you're fraud in the public. So I don't care. You know, if you say, oh, you signed a contract, well, guess what? I was high as a kite. I don't remember. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, it's a joke. It's really a joke. Everybody wants to be on TV. That's all these paranormal groups, that's all they talk about. I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to have girls flocking all over me. And it's like, it's so stupid because it's guys like me that make these people. I make these people. I make them rich because I'm the guy that has hundreds and hundreds of cases, and there's a few people that are their location, as they call them, location coordinators. And all they do for a living, they get paid by the television network to go to my site, take places off my site, air them on TV, and then make an ass out of me and them, because they're going to go in there and they're going to fake a bunch of stuff, and they're the ones that are going to make money. And see, we're a very nonprofit organization. So, you know, when people want to make a donation, it gets applied towards the scientific research that we do. But these people, they have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and they have nothing except what the television network puts out. And the places that they put down, they're not picking their places. I pick my own places. But these people go to sites like mine, yours, and they say, hey, you know, that guy got some good EVPs. Let's just make a show about it. And of course, you know, once the show airs, you know what's going to happen. They're going to get credit. You're not going to get credit that you found this place. And so I'm making them richer. And that's my beef about it. I'm almost to a point where I'll do a documentary, but I'm not going to do these reality shows. The money is not that important to me. The fame is not that important. I like my freedom too much. If I want to get in a rocket ship or a UFO and go off to space, I'm ready to go. Can't do that on a TV show, not with 30 guys standing around, and all they do is horseplay on the set. That is all they do. I mean, you're supposed to be looking for the paranormal, and instead all they do is just like they're playing Facebook games and pigging out and just going off and screwing around. The guy's supposed to be filming. He's off with his buddies laughing and horseplaying. There's nothing serious about that. And so my message is, you know, people need to start rethinking their strategy in this field and start realizing if you want to watch these shows, every time you watch a show, you just put money in their pocket because that's how they get paid. They get paid by the viewer,
And if they don't have a certain amount of viewers, the show gets canceled.
Exactly. So I don't watch them. I'm not paying anybody. I go out there and my research is hard-earned. When I go look for Bigfoot, I go look for UFOs, not only do I take a lot of risk, because I look back and think, man, I've almost died like 100 times. But I'm not going to take these risks for these people. They get paid. They live a life of luxury. And me, I'm just I'm an adventurer. I like freedom a lot. And on a show, they own you. They tell you what to do. They tell you to lie. All your work doesn't matter. Your expertise don't matter. They don't.
When you can eat, when you can drink, the whole 9 yards, pretty much.
Yeah, you're under their control, under their spell. And so that's not really my type of thing. I run a very easygoing paranormal group, but when I'm on investigations, I will make my investigators work for every investigation they do. I know people, they try to join my team, they want to sit around, and I'm like, look, we are paranormal investigators. We assume the risk. And there's a lot of people who will not go that far. I had a guy who said, I won't go in cemeteries. I don't want nothing to follow me home. I'm like, you're a paranormal investigator. So you have to do this. If you can't do it, you can't be on my team. So it's a commitment a lot of people are not willing to make. Most people just want a TV show, and they want to get paid for just joking around.
Yeah, and be famous. Want everybody to notice who they are.
Mm-hmm. Of course. And the thing is, like, you look at Ghost Adventures, you look at those guys.
Do I have to?
Oh man, I know people who know those guys personally. They grew up near Carson City and Virginia City. So a lot of people know them, and every person that knows them tells me the same thing. They're a bunch of jackasses, and they're just a bunch of snobbish dudes. And it's not even that. I watched a couple shows, and of course, for a while there, they were taking places off my website, which was pissing me off. But the guy that finds the places, I don't get along with. So he threatened to spite me, and now he's acting childish, putting all my hard work through them, so they make the money. But those guys, they were lying on TV. They always say they're alone. That's not true. I have a friend who was on the crew and told me there's like 30 people there.
Right.
It's all lies. That's not honest research.
I always ask the question, at the beginning of their show, he talks all this crap about, with no big camera crews following us around, blah, blah, blah. But yet it shows his cameraman filming him, and who's filming his cameraman?
Well, the other guys. There's other
exactly.
guys around.
So, I mean, you can see right through it.
Mm-hmm. Of course you can. If you're smart enough, you can. But the problem is that we live in a society where people are wishful thinking. They're hoping it's real. And it's like, trust me, it's not real. If you want to follow someone real, then follow some of the groups that go out there and take risk every single week, and they go out consistently, and they do their own work and their own research, and those are the people that really deserve the credit. It's not a bunch of famous celebrities on TV, because they're just stealing our hard-earned research. That's all they're doing, and they're making money off guys like me, and I'm not making 1 red cent. I'm doing this because I'm here to educate people. I educate high school.
That is the reason why I would never do a TV show. I don't care, because they may promise you, in the beginning that, you can do it your way and this, that, and the other, but once you're there, they own you.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, the thing was, many years ago, in 2003, Roger, I was going to get the first ghost hunting show on TV. And the producer said, give me a list of places, and we will do those places. Gave the guy a list, was going to get me on TV, and then the network was like, we really don't want these type of shows. Now they have those type of shows, but years ago they're like, no, it's not a good idea. He tried to pitch it to them. Then I wrote sci-fi, and I said, why don't you get a ghost hunting show? I said, I'll lead it. And then they turned out, and they had, the Grant and the other guy, I can't even remember his name. Yeah, Jason. They had those guys, and I'm like, really? I'm like, I write you with the idea, and I pitch you the idea, and you screw me? That's exactly what they did. They screwed me. And I don't care, because I'm so ahead of all them guys with hundreds and hundreds of cases, they'll never catch me. They'll never catch me. I'll go for another 20 years and do another 1,000, 10,000 cases. I don't care. They'll never catch me, because that's doing real research. Not just, doing, hey, we're going to do 8 places in the next few months. you know.
And then we're going to
I could
take
do 8
about a
one day.
5-month vacation, you know, and then we'll come back and do 8 more. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is, man.
You know,
it's
and
sad.
while we're on vacation, we're going to buy us an inn with all this money we made, you know. We're going to fix that up and make more money. And yeah. I used to,
we live in-
actually, back in the day, I used to, when Ghost Hunters first came out, I loved that show. They were more real. And I watched them slowly disintegrate into sci-fi. You know, you could tell that nothing they were doing was what they wanted to do. But the
Right.
money's good, so they're going to do it, you know.
Right. You're right. They're going to do it for the money, but that's not. See, that's the thing. That's not commitment, and that's the problem I have. You have to be committed in this field to do the research, and I don't think everybody should be in this field. I see far too many people who don't deserve to be in this field. All the time I get people on my friends list. They post evidence that I tell them what it is, and then they get mad. They're just very inexperienced. It's very hard to deal with people in this field, and I kind of am a recluse because of that. However,
And
if
they
people
ask
want to
you-
learn,
They ask you to look at their stuff and give them your opinion. Then when you do, they blow up. You know, I mean,
well, I see a lot of groups, and I could read through them, and I could say, hey, yeah, this one's real, this one's not real. And I see a lot of people just liking the idea that they have a group, and they're online, and they're boasting, just like one time we had this female investigator. Never would show for any investigation, but kept using my name to get purchases for her book and all this other stuff. And I'm on one of the biggest teams out west. And it's like, lady, you don't do anything. I don't need you. I'd rather go off into hell by myself than deal with that. Into hell. But, you know, there's good groups, there's bad groups, there's good aliens, there's bad aliens, there's good ghosts and bad ghosts. There's good and bad in everything. The problem is there's more bad paranormal groups than there is good. And I have friends in other countries who run groups. Some of them are ufologists, cryptozoologists, some of them are ghost hunters. They all do different things. And their work's pretty impeccable. It's good work that they do. And they admire my work too, because they're like, well, you know, at least we know who's real in this field. But it's not very many. It's very minimal, because people do this for fame, to get on TV, and they really don't take pride in the research itself. Because how many of these people are going to sit in the woods for 3 days and look for Bigfoot? You know, if you had 1,000 people and you said, hey, how many of you are going to climb that mountain with me? You're probably going to have 1 or 2 people go, and the other 98 are going to be like, hell no. Because I just came back from a camping trip with Christina George and her friend, and the whole premises for this investigation was to look for Bigfoot. And I took them I showed them a peek off into this. I said, we're going to climb the top of that tomorrow. I said, we'll do it tonight if you want. Oh, no, it's an hour away. But then the next day I came, and they were really hesitant about going. And, you know, I mean, whether she was sick or their founder was sick or they didn't want to leave or whatever the case was, I ended up climbing the peak myself. And honestly, I don't think that many people could have climbed this peak. Was there Bigfoot up there? Yeah.
The only thing that stops me is the blockage in my leg. If I didn't have that, I guarantee you I'd climb right alongside you.
Be a mountain man.
I mean, I'm not scared.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the attitude to have. You got to go in. You got to go in fearless. If I've had people that run, we see something, we're supposed to be filming and documenting it, and they hightail it out of there.
I'd probably get killed because I wouldn't run. I'd be like, let me get your picture.
Yeah, stand still, Bigfoot. Bigfoot eats people too.
Be still just a minute. Hold that pose for me.
Strike a pose.
I do the thing where you put your hands out there, you know, and do the frame like they do in the movies. yeah, just like that, yeah.
But you know, we work hard at what we do, and if you can't do it, you can't do it. I always have a position for somebody. If people want to go out with me and they can't climb the mountain, I can do the peak and they can do the bottom, or as far as they can go. But people have to work together in this field. And like I said, I just got done working with Christina George's group. We had a fun time camping and all that, but they didn't really get to go out and learn anything from me. They didn't learn about Bigfoot. They didn't learn about, because they didn't go out, you know? And Christina was sick, and then her investigators were like, I don't know, I'll see you at Spider's Lake. I'm like, you going to climb the peak with me, or am I going myself, man? I ended up going myself. I took my son, and my son was like, He's like, yeah, this mountain's a boss, and we did it. I'm like, yeah, we also seen Bigfoot too up here. Because I just seen Bigfoot like a week ago. I was up there on Devil's Peak, and there's a little patch of woods, very hard area to get to. There's a lot of cliffs around, a lot of rocks to climb. It's miles up, and you go all the way up, and there's a little patch of woods on the ridge, and those drop off near a cliff into this deep canyon that goes for miles, untouched by man. And there was a 9 to 10 foot dark brown creature lumbering off in this little open clearing in the woods. These things exist. They are very real. But I ended up seeing that Sasquatch, and the only reason why I seen it, is because I pointed at that peak, and I told the guys, I told everybody on the other team, I said, that's where we're going. You can go if you want, you can stay if you want, but I'm going. And it paid off. I went with a hunch. I studied the topography, because you got to do that too, and the woods, and the land, and the geology, and all these things you got to account for, and I thought that would be my best prospect, and it was. Well, it paid off.
You would think that most of the time they're going to be in a place where they don't figure, man is going to encroach on them.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it, Roger.
Marianne in the chat room had a question. What do you think about synchronicity?
Synchronicity? Is that what the question is?
Yes.
What does she mean by synchronicity?
Ain't that a movie?
Sounds like a movie to me.
That's what I thought. Are you talking about a movie, Marianne? Seems like there was a movie called that. Meaningful coincidences that happen. That's what she's saying.
Meaning what that happens?
Meaningful coincidences that happen.
Oh. Some people believe there are no coincidences. Some people don't believe in luck either. I would believe that everything is connected and has a reason, but that's just me.
That's what CJ said in the chat room, that everything happens for a reason. If you see Sasquatch, you can pretty much figure that you were supposed to see Sasquatch. He wanted you to see him, or he would not have let you see him.
That's exactly it, because they're so intelligent, they can smell you from hundreds of feet away, and they know they can book. They could be out of there in seconds, they can climb a tree, but it seems like more and more, the further I journey, the more things I continue to see that are strange. And some of these things, it just almost seems like it would want me to see it. Because why would it appear when it could be elusive and get out of there? It seems like lately, I also had another Sasquatch sighting up by Shirley Canyon recently, and I seen a set of legs just walk past a tree and disappear. And that happens a lot too, because this creature's so fast, or climbs up a tree and stays up there staring down at you. And we don't look up in the trees. I look up. But there's a lot of cryptozoologists who forget to look up, and they forget that this creature, if it's not in front of you, it's probably above you, sitting up in a tree and just staring down. And maybe if you're alone, it could be quite risky.
Yeah.
The thing could pounce you, break your neck, and carry you off to its lair. Who knows? We don't know anything about these creatures' lifestyles, habitats, what they eat. We have an idea in pure speculation, but who's to say that I don't go walking up at Devil's Peak and one of these creatures snaps my neck and goes off to some cave to feed its young? We don't know that. These are big, powerful creatures. And if they want you to see them, you'll see them. If they want to get you, they'll get you.
Yeah. And I don't think, it's just like with ghost hunting. I don't think anybody should go alone. You shouldn't go hunting for Bigfoot alone.
No, it's dangerous.
And you hear different things like, Bigfoot's not dangerous, he won't hurt you. And then you hear other people say, well, yeah, people are being snatched by Bigfoot and all this kind of stuff. So, it kind of floats both ways in the media. But I think if they would hurt you if they felt like they were at risk, survival.
No, you're right. Well, I think that they're going to do what they can to survive. If there's no food and there's hardly any water, they're going to take more extreme measures. They may take a small dog, maybe a child. I've been looking at all the disappearances, and they're very scary.
Okay,
they're very scary.
I'm going to have to get you to hold that thought for a minute, and you can carry on. We're going to take a hard break, about 3 or 4 minutes, and we'll be back. Don't nobody go away. You're listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. This is Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio with Roger Belt, Cindy John Pierre, and our guest tonight is Lord Rick Rowe. We'll be back in a few minutes, y'all.
Okay, you guys are clear. It'll be about 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York, the CJ Mars Radio Network.
You've got mail.
Okay, everybody, we are back, and we were just talking there in the background about, what's that guy's name again, Rick Dyer?
Yeah, Rick Dyer.
That done the Bigfoot fake, and had a stuffed ape suit, whatever you want to call it, you know, and was charging people to see it, but then he would, like, set up, he was supposed to be in a certain place in a city or something, and, you know, they would set up the place and spend money getting that all together for him, and then, you know, they would pay him money up front or whatever, and then he wouldn't show up because he knew that he couldn't produce what they actually wanted.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
You know, I mean, it's the same with some of and I don't go around bashing ghost hunters, you know, that's not my thing, but there is people out there that will fake or whatever, anything they can to get noticed because they're looking for the fame and the glory. And it's sad because, you know, you don't have to fake stuff. It's out there. You know, do the research, do what you got to do, but it is out there.
It's out there for the take. You're right, totally.
It really gripes me sometimes how people will, you know, go out of their way and elaborate fakes too. Now I'm talking about, you know, they'll spend no telling how much money to fake something thinking that they're gonna get famous, and they don't have to do that if they would just, you know, do the research, do what is needed to be done, spend the time. And that's a lot of things. They don't want to spend the time. They just want to, go in, oh, I got that, and go out and, and they post it up on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere, and hoping that some TV network's going to see it and go, yeah, I want them,
Right. Well, that's the whole thing, is that people don't want to do the work, but they want the recognition. And so when I go out there and I do my research, it's my baby. And I also have to take into consideration, because before we went on break, I was telling you that there's a lot of missing people. And I don't think people understand the veracity of the situation, that a lot of people are going into these national parks and they're not coming out. Their clothes are found. They're all sometimes found dead on cliffs where a little child could never get on top of. It's almost like either Sasquatch carried them, which would be common. I mean, primates, silverback gorillas, they're 6 times stronger than you or I, so they could carry a human. They could pick up a human like a ragdoll and throw.
Well, silverback could take a medium size to a teenage child and carry them off. They're strong,
Well, that's the whole thing. It's the same thing with Sasquatch. If you have a 12-foot creature that weighs 1,400 pounds, it's probably 12 times stronger than you or I.
Well, yeah.
So picking up a kid, picking up an adult would be nothing for this creature. This creature would not even break a sweat. And then you have the other thing. Not only are people found with broken necks out in the middle of the woods, or broken backs as if something broke them in half, but you have the other one where people have all kinds of broken bones in their body as if they were dropped 1,000 feet from the air, which to me sounds like
or thrown off a cliff or something.
UFO related, a lot like the cattle mutilations. When you ever find cattle on a ranch that have been mutilated, you also see that they suffered trauma from being dropped at a high height, much like the humans found in national parks. So, I go out, I do a lot of hikes myself. There's a lot of hikes I'll take my son on. He's the 20-mile hiker. He can do it. I've trained him well. But there's a lot of places I'll go and I'll be like, nobody's going. I'll talk to you on the radios, but I'll just do it myself, or I'll do it with my dog. And when I'm by myself, that's the most dangerous time in my work.
Exactly.
Because I'll get things that'll follow me around for miles. And if it's dark and I have 4 miles to get back to camp, and you have something follow you for miles on end, it becomes a little bit, you become a little paranoid, because you're like, this thing is not letting, it's following me. It's intelligent. It's following me. It's stopping when I stop. It's breaking branches. It's hooting and hollering. I can't see it. It probably has night vision. It's going to eat me, So when I go out in the woods, I'm pretty optimistic. I'm always armed. I always got all kinds of equipment and gear to survive. But that doesn't mean nothing. These creatures could just hop down off a tree, snap your neck, and you'd never have a chance to load your gun, get out your axe, get out your hunting knives. You'd have no chance, because these are the true survivalists of the wilderness. Not humans, but them, because they could stay up there all winter long and not even feel affected by the cold. If we lived in the wilderness at those elevations, we would freeze to death. These are powerful creatures. Nothing to be disrespected, just they're meant to be admired. You can respect them. If you see them, you can respect them. But I don't see people doing that in the future. I see people trying to hunt these things.
Well, and you've got all these people who thinks that the only way to ever solve this thing is to kill one. I don't agree with that.
Well, I don't agree with it either, because I think there's another way to study it. Kind of like with the mountain gorillas, they were studied for a long time before people encroached directly with them. And with these Sasquatch, it might be better to observe them and gain their trust rather than go in and shoot it. Because if you shoot them,
you got to look at it from the other point of view. If they ever capture one, the crap they're going to do to it with their experiments and all that kind of stuff, which is worse, shooting one or capturing one alive and torturing them for months and months.
Mm-hmm. Well, they'll never free it. But the problem is, if you shoot at one and you miss, then they're like tribes. So there's probably 4 or 5 in the area. A lot of things, there's not just one. So if you shoot at one, the rest are coming back to get you. You better get out of there. And the other thing is that if you shoot at one, they're going to resent humans more, and you're going to find a lot more humans missing, because they're going to be like, these people are encroaching on our land, they're threatening us, they're shooting at us, screw it, we are superb, we are going to kill these people. And they will kill. And it may not even be because they're a violent species, but maybe they're clinging on to life as we know it.
Well, yeah, it's self-preservation.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is.
You know, and animals are just like people. They're going to do whatever they have to do to survive.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
I have a question.
Sure.
When David Pilates was writing his book there, he mentioned that the clothes, especially the clothes from children, appeared on the ground with shoes, shorts, or whatever they were wearing, all as if the children had been melted out of them. Now, I mean, how does this play into Bigfoot, or if not, could there be a UFO type of connection
That
here?
would be my guess.
Well, here's how it happens. They're not melted out. They get deatomized. It's kind of like a warp, like Star Trek, and basically you could be standing there in clothing and a backpack, and they deatomize you, and they put you back together with they make a biological imprint, like when you're being transferred, and they put you together on their ship, exactly the way the biological imprint would be. You have to, or otherwise you'd have a finger on the forehead and a nose on the foot. So that would explain how there's no children in the clothes. But then again, I sometimes wonder, if these creatures like Sasquatch might eat children, eat small animals, it's not going to eat them with their clothes on. It's going to take the clothes off. And if this thing has fingers and appendages, then it could easily take off a children's clothing, and it's kind of scary because if that child's still alive or that adult is still alive, you know where this is going when they take your clothes. You know they're going to eat you. That's all they would want you for. They're not going to make you part of their tribe or their group. You're going to disappear, and that's it. You're going to vanish.
I think what she's talking about, though, is where, like, the shoes and the clothes would be laying in the order that the person would have been wearing them, like the shoes and the pants and then the shirt, all like a body should have been in it, but it ain't.
Well, that's what would happen if you were atomized or deatomized. You would just, the clothing would just fall in place on the ground.
Exactly, but it's kind of like the clothes just melted down to the ground and the body disintegrated.
Yeah, there's no more body.
Now if Bigfoot was going to declothe somebody to eat them or whatever, I don't think it would be in that order. They would just rip them off and they'd be there like in pieces here and there, like the shoes over here, maybe a pant leg over there and shirt sleeves here, and...
Well, is there a connection between, do you think, Bigfoot and the UFO phenomena?
Yeah, I do. I do think so. I think maybe one of the reasons why we don't find it is that they might be some advanced space traveler visiting and surveying the planet, because they're found everywhere around the world. And so we don't know what kind of technology they have. They might be built to survive on harsh planets. They could also be part of another alien race, or might be aliens that are above in the hierarchy. And they put these creatures to survey and watch the land. You also have a lot of UFO cases, if you do the research, including the one outside Erie, Pennsylvania, on the peninsula and the Great Lakes, of some teenagers were sitting there partying, hanging out. They seen lights. They seen an object come down in the woods, and then seconds later, the car would not start. The guys left, leaving the women, and some Sasquatch creature appears and basically looks in their window. So you have to correlate the connection with all these UFO sightings, and then the Bigfoot sightings come after. They probably go hand in hand. And I get people that all the time tell me, no, it's outrageous, because they don't want to keep an open mind. However, there is probably reptile-like beings in the universe. You have lizard people, dinosaur-looking people, probably crossbreeds that look half human and half animal. And you also probably have certain types of primates that might be found on other planets that have intelligence. Because our primates are very intelligent. Now, they're not as intelligent as a human, but if you were to do gene manipulation, you could make a whole army of primates that could speak, talk, walk, like Planet of the Apes.
And actually, there was a scientist in Russia that was trying to do just that.
Is there a correlation, do you think, between where the sightings for UFOs are and the sightings for Bigfoot? I mean, is there any kind of map or correlation that can be shown between these two things?
That would be something you'd have to research. If you take all the UFO sightings per year. And for example, take them all in the United States, which are marked with dots, and then you match up all the Bigfoot hot zones. You're going to find wherever those UFOs are sighted, a lot of times there is a lot of Bigfoot activity. And more than usual, because I go to certain places, they're less known, you might have some Bigfoot activity, and then you go to some other place, and you find out that year there's been multiple sightings, multiple tracks, people are seeing them, and they're also seeing lights in the sky. They're also witnessing UFOs, sometimes right after they hear vocalizations. So we don't really know. These could be space visitors. I do know one thing, they're flesh and blood, but so are aliens. Aliens are flesh and blood. So they could die just like anything else.
And see, I always ask that question, out of all the Sasquatch searches and Bigfoot hunts, nobody ever finds a skeleton. They don't live forever.
No, they don't.
And that's one of the things with me that would tie them into either alien or interdimensional type beings, because obviously when one dies, the rest of them take it back to wherever it came from, and you don't find nobody.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I believe that they're closer to humanity than people think. And I do think that if they are survivors of this planet, they may be the original survivors, and we may be the genetic manipulation. But if that's the case,
the missing link, so to speak.
Well, something like that. But the thing is that these creatures probably have intelligence and a culture and a language, and they probably bury their dead. If you bury something in the earth, you bury in it a cat, a dog. Nobody's ever going to dig it up or find it. And if it gets found, it might get found 1,000 years from now when they start removing the forest to build more towns and cities up there. So at this point, I do think that they bury their dead. Or they go up to space when they're done surveying the planet or doing what they're doing. Maybe they're the original settlers of Earth, and maybe they became so advanced that they left for space. Maybe they don't live on this planet, but maybe they come back to Earth. Maybe this is their roots. You have to keep an open mind, because all you can really do is speculate, and it's good to come up with something, because it's better than coming up with nothing at all and being like, I got nothing. So
see they talk about digging up the giant skeletons and all that stuff, and who's to say that the original race of beings here wasn't giant?
Oh, there was giants here.
But I'm saying that they, might have been the first beings here, and they decided, well, hey, screw this crap, I'm going to Jupiter or whatever, But, they just left. But, of course, they left behind skeletons and stuff that had been found.
Well, okay, have they found any type of relationship between, say, the Bigfoot that we know today, Giganopithecus, and the Anunnaki?
Good question.
Well, the Anunnaki were giants in themselves, and
exactly.
If you look at Bigfoot,
that was my point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there could be a direct correlation. They could be ancestors. Just because they're coming here does not mean they're not ancestors of some ancient race that once roamed this planet. Now, giant skeletons, those have been found. The Smithsonian has actually covered it up, which really pisses me off. It's the one thing that makes me mad, is when people try to cover up science and history. Nothing should ever be covered up. Not aliens, not ancient cities. If history needs to be rewritten, so be it. What are they scared of? These giants in Nevada, they roamed everywhere. They used to carry the natives in baskets because that's what they ate, the natives. And there's been scientific discoveries made where they have found giant skulls, giant skeletons in Nevada. Like I said, I have access to the skulls, and they are much bigger than that of a human. Much, much bigger. It's almost inhuman when you look at them and think, this thing's probably 10 times stronger than me, and it probably would eat me. And it did.
You think about that, and you think about the temples and stuff that were built back in the Mayan days and everything. Stones that they couldn't have possibly picked up. An average person, even 20 or 30 of them. You take, 5 or 6 of the giant people, they're going to be able to lift a whole lot more than an average person, even 20 of them.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
So, and that goes back to the Anunnaki, and they were very large and probably very strong. I want to say people, but I don't know if you'd call them people or not. But, it would have been easier for them to do.
Well, okay, what about the elongated skulls that were found in Peru. Now, I mean, I've looked at, what people say that they're seeing in this Bigfoot, and it seems to me that there's some kind of an elongation there too. What do you think about that, Rick?
Well, there's one of two theories. The first theory is that as a child, their head was elongated to begin with, or it's kind of like if you leave a piercing in, or you pull on skin for so long, you can form it. And the same thing, a lot of tribes in South America and the Amazon would actually put wood around the skull, and they would shape the skulls to be longer. But then when you look at some skulls that are really long, like over 12 inches, you have to wonder. There's extra plates of bone. It doesn't look human. The eye sockets don't resemble that of a human's eye sockets. The teeth, all those things differ. And so you have to question, is this an alien am I looking at? Or is this some sort of mutation caused by the tribe? As when you're a child, they can mutilate you all different kinds of ways to look a certain way. And I don't think the skulls in any way are related to Bigfoot in South America. I could see it with some of the skulls found in the U.S., some of the Gigantopithecus skulls that have been found, some of the bones. You could say, you know what, that might be Sasquatch, because Gigantopithecus was 10 to 12 feet. It was a very powerful creature, and people said, it died out, it doesn't exist. But we don't know that. A lot of things have been said to die out, the Tasmanian tiger or the Thylacine, and now people are starting to see them again. So, did it really die out, or was it on the verge of dying out? And then with South America, did a tribe do this? Or are these alien skulls because maybe an alien hybrid was the king of his temple, like with the pyramids and the pharaohs? Some of those pharaohs may not have been human. Their skulls were elongated. And that is very common with all the ancient sites across the world. You will find those skulls, which makes you believe that maybe ancient aliens came down, taught the people what they know, and they may have even breeded with humans. And that's where you may get a skull that's not as long as it is, for example, King Tut's skull. He's half human, so his skull's not as, maybe he's a quarter alien and 3/4 human, so his skull's not as big, as opposed to his father and his sister, who have much longer elongated skulls, and extra bones, mind you. So the only thing that's going to tell what these are is hardcore science. DNA, if you can extract it, and you need an anthropologist, and you need a lot of scientists. Everybody's got to work together to find the truth. It cannot be just one person. And that's the problem. Nobody's testing any of this. They're not.
Right. And my question is, I believe that because of these giant bones that they're finding and these things that are proving that we go back a long time before Darwin's theory, but they're still teaching that in school, and they ignore it. They ignore everything that's being found. I mean, what's the sense of even investigating if it's not going to be, acknowledged?
Because the whole thing is you got to fight the good fight. And even though you will not win everybody over, it has to start with someone and somewhere. And you have to keep pushing, and you have to make the truth known. I know that schools don't want to talk about it. The history books are not being rewritten. They keep saying Columbus was here first and all this other garbage, but that's not true. The Vikings came here. The Knights of Templar came over. I mean, there's so much proof. If you go in the Grand Canyon in Arizona, you can find holy symbols from England, and those date back to far before Columbus was here. And then you have stone ruins in New Hampshire and possibly a couple Stonehenges in the United States. Things are much older than what you're being told. And it's okay. We can be aware of it, and the rest of the world can be sheeple or in the dark, but we know what's true. And all we can do is just continue to, like what I say, I just continue to educate people. And we get schools that go to our site and they learn about the history. They sometimes learn a little bit about something they didn't know or some of our theories. But it's hard. You got a bunch of powerful people who want to control everything, even information, even something that is so free and senseless, they want to control it. They want to control the UFOs. The forestry knows about Bigfoot. They want to keep that on a down low. Then you have the whole history cover-up that giants did roam the planet, and those are being all scooped up, and they're actually on 9 levels below Smithsonian, all the skeletons. And you know this is true because the Smithsonian went to all these mounds and removed all these skeletons, because the natives would bury the giants with them, because some of the natives did, some tribes got along with the giants. Other tribes were victims of cannibalism from these giants. And of course the women would be stolen, and the children would be stolen and eaten. So, but you got to understand that the Smithsonian, they went and they did this. They took away our history. That's our history, and they took it all away. And you can go online, just type Smithsonian giant skeletons, and you're going to find out there's been at least 1,000 excavations of these things. Where are they today? What are they doing digging up Native American mounds to begin with? Because they're looking for something. They're looking to cover up something. That's what they're doing.
I agree.
Well,
And
because
so,
they figured if they buried something there with those giants or whatever, that might let people know, hey, you know, there were aliens here. Or, you know, maybe something was buried with them that they thought they could use for some odd reason.
Exactly. I think that the government sometimes tries to overstep their boundaries, and they want to tell people on a need-to-know basis of what exists, because they think people are going to panic and be in fear. It's like, how can we educate people in the future if everything is being concealed? Aliens is bigger than you, me, or the U.S. government, and therefore we should be educated in a school of what species there are, try to learn about their culture, which ones are hostile, and educate people so that way 30 years from now, if we get invaded, we'll be ready, because all of us will be mentally prepared for it. But as long as there's no disclosure, all of us are doomed in a doomsday scenario or apocalypse. And if we're kept in the dark about our history, people are going to continue to believe Columbus is the main man, instead of believing that, giants were roaming the United States frontier before the natives came here, because what happened is the Native Americans came to the United States, or North America, I should say, and the giants were already here. So when the giants felt they were being invaded, what did they do? They started eating the locals. They started eating the tribe. And of course, you know why they want to cover this up, because it instills fear. People are like, what if the giants come back? Instead of taking a scientific approach, is like, let's learn about these giants. What was their culture like? Were they related? Were they come from space? There's so much to learn. So in a way, that is paranormal. And do I believe giants still exist? I bet you. Even if they come from another planet and they visit here, I've seen some big UFOs in my time. Whatever rides on those UFOs could be quite large. Imagine 1 million giants coming out of a ship. Humanity would be lost. It's just, people don't want to know about those things.
Okay, I got to hold you up a second there. We're live at WCJV Digital Broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. This is Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio with Roger Belt, Cindy Jean-Pierre, and Lord Rick Rowe. And you may continue, sir.
Sure. Awesome. But you have to understand that there's so much that's hidden. I like living out west because they found an Egyptian city in the Grand Canyon. There was mummies. There was I can't even say a Siraka. I can't even. You know what I mean? There was coffins and gold statues and Egyptian artwork and hieroglyphics. But it's up on a cliff, and when you try to rappel down to the cave, the government kind of intervenes. So there are underground cities. There are hidden civilizations. There is forbidden history out there that could rewrite everything, such as, how about this? A screw found to be 1 million years old, a screw. So it's like maybe there was civilization here far beyond humans. Maybe exactly. All of us, maybe they died out. Maybe an apocalypse happened. A comet hit the Earth, leaving 1,000 left on the planet, and it slowly recovered. And over time, we have evolved, or there's been some manipulation within the genes, and those eventually our old ancestors have died off. Maybe they were too advanced. Maybe we're about to make the same mistake they did. Maybe they were wiped out. Maybe we're next, because the Earth cannot sustain itself with overpopulation, garbage, blowing holes in the atmosphere. You can see that there's global warming. It's hot everywhere. It doesn't get this hot where I live in the mountains. I was in the woods hiking on Devil's Peak. It was in the 90s. I thought I was going to keel over and die looking for Bigfoot. I'm like, I'm going to get a heat stroke before I find Squatch. But it's just,
What do you
there's
know
so
about
much out
Corn
there.
Island?
Which island? Oak Island?
Corn Island.
Corn Island.
Yeah, I was reading about it this morning. They found it's like between Kentucky and Indiana on the Ohio River, and they
haven't heard
found
of
some
that.
of those giant skeletons, a graveyard on the Indiana side across from Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, yeah, Louisville. I'm going to have to look into that.
I was reading about that this morning, and something about some farmer, they found some on his land, and he let them dig up a couple, and then he stopped them because he said they were going to ruin his whole field and everything with their research, whatever. But they found some more on the Indiana side of the river bank there. Some other archaeologists had found another site, and they were, finding these skeletons buried sitting up, with like their eyes facing towards the sky. Now that's kind of odd, ain't it?
It's almost like a tribute to space, the universe.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like maybe they were looking toward home,
Probably the Anunnaki. That's what I'm thinking. They probably came here. They stayed so long. They did what they had to do, and they left. And I would not blame any alien race for leaving this planet because, like I say, we're on the brink of World War III. There's countries getting nuclear weapons. If any of those countries wanted to go suicide and launch 100 nukes, this planet would not look the same. It would blow holes in the atmosphere. It would be apocalyptic. It would be. And everybody would almost die. So when it comes to giants, they're still being discovered. A lot of times they're found on riverbanks. They're found buried. Sometimes they're found in mounds, which has limited accessibility because you and I cannot excavate a mound. But the Smithsonian, they can go in, they can excavate a mound, they can do what they want. And that's the problem. We're talking about people who have too much power and do not share their research with the public.
That and also the fact that, just because the Smithsonian goes in there and digs it up don't mean they're going to get to keep it either. Uncle Sam may want it.
That's the thing. NASA, Smithsonian, they're all government funded. So the government has the last say. If they find something that will rewrite history, because perhaps these skeletons, these giants, are alien in themselves. So you have to wonder, could the government be concealing this? Because if they released it and they said these bones are not from Earth, they are from another universe or galaxy, I don't know. Could that cause widespread panic? In today's age, more people are open about UFOs and aliens, at least 65% of the people. So I think releasing something like that could be beneficial to the public. However, it's being covered up. I don't know why, except I could theorize that they are alien in nature, far from human, and that's what they don't want anyone to know. Because the whole giant cover-up, the giant cover has been going on now for like 125 years, and the government's always been behind the funding of excavating the giants.
Well, and if you read back about the Anunnaki, supposedly they created us as a slave race.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's right.
They were fighting amongst each other, and basically we sided with one side who was supposed to be watching out for us against the other side who was, wanting to kill us all. So, there's a lot of stuff, and you can dig back and read into a lot of stuff, and giants being buried with human bodies buried with them makes good sense to me,
Oh yeah, it's just like the pyramids. They would bury all the slaves in there.
Yeah.
Alive, and they'd suffocate.
Well, they would seal them up in there alive with the kings to supposedly watch over their bodies and stuff like that during their transformation to the afterlife.
Mm-hmm. They believed that they were going back to the stars.
Yeah.
And the pyramids point at their star system.
Which,
so that
believe it or not, was in Orion's belt, which is where all the sites were lined up with.
Well, Orion's belt is kind of like the solar system here. So I'm almost positive whatever planets are around the belt probably have some sort of life. You have suns out there, so if there's suns, there's probably exoplanets that
and they've actually found Earth-like planets orbiting around a sun in, other galaxies outside this one.
Oh, yeah.
So that there's got to be, intelligent life out there somewhere.
Well, this is how I look at it. You have about 400 billion stars in the Milky Way, and then you have millions of galaxies, and some of those galaxies are much larger than the Milky Way. Right. There are some galaxies that contain 600 to 800 billion stars and planets and moons. And so if you calculate millions of galaxies, which some of them are moving at 1 million miles an hour out into the vastness of space, We'll never catch those. We will never see those galaxies. So you have to think there's probably in each galaxy 1 million solar systems alone. And each solar system has at least one to three planets with habitable life, or at least that could sustain life. And if a planet doesn't look like it could sustain life, we don't know that, because there might be some beings that like temperatures of 50 below.
Because the human idea is, well, for it to sustain life, it's got to have water and oxygen and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
They may live off the opposite.
That's what I'm thinking.
We breathe in oxygen and breathe out the toxic stuff. They may breathe the toxic stuff.
That's exactly what it could be.
Or be toxic to us anyway.
Well, I have a belief that, for example, there's probably humans on another planet. There's probably dinosaurs on another planet. Because the biological imprint and the building blocks of life and elements are all found throughout the universe. Earth has a lot of elements, and other planets have the same elements. Carbon dioxide, oxygen, H2O, they have those things too. So there would have to be life outside our planet. And to say this, when I've had people tell me you're a quack, there's no such thing as life outside our planet. And it's like, do you know how retarded that sounds? I have to tell them that, because I'm like, really, dude? I mean, come on, to say there's no life out there would make you sound insane, because that would be a scary thought to say, hey, out of billions and billions and billions of solar systems and stars and planets, we're the only ones in the universe. I don't think so. There's many Earth-like planets. There's at least 250 that have been spotted with high-powered telescopes. And those planets have water, and they probably have lizards or butterflies or insects or some kind of intelligent race. And they're much older planets.
Mary Ann brought up a good point in the chat there, that the chemtrails and all that stuff may be making our atmosphere more habitable for them when they do decide to come.
You know, I do believe that the whole chemtrail thing, there's more to it than what people lead on. Now, it might be making it more habitable. It might be destroying our atmosphere, where we're getting this global warming. Or it might be to deter the global warming, and they just don't want to tell us. Because I looked out west here, and they said in the last 12 years, 10 of them has been record high temperatures. And you can guess the ones that weren't. The first year or two, it went up a little, and in the last decade, it's like, whoa, we're getting, I seen 115 degrees in Northern California already. That's desert temperature. That can cause heat stroke. So can the chemtrails be causing this? It's quite the possibility. And maybe they're being put there so that way aliens can breathe this type of atmosphere. I don't really know. But I have been told by someone from the government that the chemtrails, he told me what chemicals they use, and he told me that the reason why they're spraying is they're trying to get it to precipitate. They're trying to create more cloud cover to deter the global warming. But they're not stopping it. It's getting worse. Pakistan, 130-something degrees recently. People were dropping in the streets. That's not normal. That's bad. That means in 10 years, if it's 130 there, in 10 years it could be 150, and everybody will die. Everybody will roast. They'll cook. They'll cook alive. There'll be millions dead. And I don't think people understand this is a serious situation. This planet it's changing. It's changing.
Yes, and that's when people are going to start going underground.
Oh yeah, that's why the government builds the bases underground, and they may be working with aliens to do this.
That's what I think.
But the problem is, they may be saving their own hide, but they don't care about you and me. These are powerful people. They don't care if we roast, because they'll have a nice love seat and a recliner underground, and they'll have movies, food.
See, they also know that there's not going to be enough room for the billions of people that's on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to get rid of a bunch of us in order to save the ones that they deem, how do I put it, in their best interest, I guess.
What you're trying to say is that they're going to save George Bush and all the Bushes and all the people in Congress who are dumbasses while we sit up here and roast like marshmallows.
Well, and they'll keep a select few of us as slave labor, so to speak.
Lovely.
We'll let you stay in here to survive as long as you do what we tell you.
Yeah, they'll own you, basically.
yeah, exactly.
Not good, but I could see it happen.
Yeah.
I could see it happen. I could. That's why it's so important right now that we try to uncover the truth. I always told my family, I told my girlfriend, I told my other son, he thinks I'm crazy, but I'm like, if I ever have the chance to board a UFO, not that I haven't, because I'm pretty sure I've been abducted, but if I ever have a chance to willingly walk in a UFO, because this is the type of guy I am, if I see a ship landing, I'm going to walk on board. I'll surprise those aliens and say, hey, what's up? But if I have a chance to go to space, I'm going to
experiments.
Yeah, could be experimented on, could be eaten, or it could be the journey of my life. It's a chance I'm willing to risk, because for me, the science of it is bigger than humanity. To be able to
also brought up that missing people could be taken to populate those other planets too.
I think so. I think she's very right on that. I think some of these people might be taken for other reasons, because we speculate that Earth is really one giant experiment, and that aliens might be monitoring us for so long to see how we do, or they might be using this planet as kind of like as a farm, for example. I've seen
that's what I said.
Well, it's like Jupiter Ascending. That's the whole concept of that movie, is that they use Earth as a farm. So why not take humans from this planet, populate 1 million planets like this? If you have the means to travel to other planets within seconds by jumping or warping, you're going to do it. If you have the technology, you're going to do it.
Grow up here and take them there.
They could take me. They want to put me on another planet. That's just another place for me to explore. I'll go hiking on another planet.
Yeah. As long as it's got some breathable oxygen there, anyway.
That's what I'm saying. As long as I don't get out in the woods and start like suffocating and coughing up my lungs, I'll be all right.
Marianne said funny farms.
Well, maybe that's what it is. A lot of people say, people come up vanishing and missing without a trace, but if we cannot find their bodies and we can't find them, we should look to the other option and say maybe these people were taken by an alien race. With 1 million UFOs per year, or sightings, you have to take into account some of them are real alien visitors. Maybe not all of them. Some of them are government craft, which is understandable. But some of the sightings that take place are really good video footage, really good pictures. And so when you take that into account, that these come from credible people, couldn't it be possible that some of these people being abducted or never returned again could be taken by aliens for some other agenda? And we don't know what that agenda is. Food, populating another planet, maybe preservation of the human race before this planet dies off, because it might be happening as we speak. It could be, with all this global warming, and it keeps getting warmer every year, what are we going to do when the temperatures reach 180? How do you survive? You can't, even if you have air conditioning on, you're gonna fry your air conditioner. It's gonna get too hot and melt.
There's some interesting stuff going on in the chat room. Dita was saying it'd be interesting to compile a list of the age of most missing people, and it dawned on me, if they've been missing for years and they show back up, have they aged? Mm-hmm. Stuff like that.
Or are they not wearing glasses anymore? Are they healed? Are they aged?
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of things we don't know. And see, that's what I love about the paranormal. It's going out into the unknown and seeking answers that maybe nobody else knows and sharing them with the public. And so you would, in order to do that, you would have to spend years compiling it. Because you have, I believe it was a few years ago, I seen some stats, there was about 1 million missing people one year. And 1 million people is a lot to track. It is.
And if you think about it, if a race was dying off and they couldn't breathe our air right, but they wanted to take this planet over, what would be the best way to do that? Interbreed, create, half alien, half human. Hybrids, there you go. I couldn't think of that word. But, and that way they would be able to breathe the air, but yet they would still maintain some of their, their own history, their own, what's the word here? I can't find words to say what I'm trying to say. In other words, they would still be their race, but they would be able to survive here. They would be half our race, half their race.
I think that's why there are hybrids. I think that they do want to populate this planet. Now, what that means is, do they want to take over? Do they want to blend? I don't know. Do they actually want to be more human so that they can experience the emotions we experience?
Could be
Those
that.
are all questions.
And could
Those
be
are all questions I would
just
have.
to survive on this planet, you know.
Well, aren't there a few people out there that believe that hybrids already are here and
Yeah.
even, in government and everything else?
That's what I'm saying. And if they can take
called
over
non-trust.
a little bit at a time, nobody will really notice.
The hybrids in our government are called non-terrestrial officers. And Gary McKinnon hacked the U.S. government, and that was unveiled. And he's like, non-terrestrial officers, what's this? It basically what it's saying is we have aliens in our own government, and probably working with our government. And that's kind of scary when you think about it, because is it humans manipulating them, or are we just a pawn in some kind of bigger game, a bigger plan that some alien race has? Maybe they're just using the government. Because honestly, if I was an alien race, would I really want to hand over something to create a black hole to the human race? Probably not.
Right.
So there's got to be something else. There's got to be. We're just missing it. We just don't know because there's no disclosure.
If they can take over in the higher offices, and I'm not just talking about in America, I'm talking about worldwide, and they look like us, they act like us, they talk like us, who's going to know, right?
You're never going to know,
and
because they can look as human.
It's kind of like the English king said about the Scots, if you can't run them out, breed them out.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, that's what I would believe was going on, because if you have an alien hybrid, chances are you may not even know it has some alien DNA in it. Now the alien might know, because the aliens have said, some alien races have told other humans that we as humans can live hundreds and hundreds of years. We just don't have the technology right now. An alien race might be able to keep me alive for 1,000 years. I told my family, when I die, send my DNA up to the outer space. Send my whole body, my whole carcass, just send it up there.
My question is, do you take the red pill or the blue pill?
I take them both. Both.
Just trying to lighten it up a little bit there, but...
That's okay. No, I mean, you got to have an open mind. To be a good paranormal investigator, you always got to keep an open mind. And that's the problem. There's a lot of people who are so closed-minded. They're so closed that they don't believe there's anything else out there in the universe. And we've already proven that Mars could have microbes.
Well, yeah.
Because, that's life in itself. So,
and Mars has water on it. It's just underground. It was on the top of the ground, but now it's underground.
They have a way to get that groundwater to actually drain it from underground and put it back on the surface. But what they would have to do is, for 1,000 years, pump carbon dioxide with giant smokestacks for 1,000 years, and all the ice on the poles, all the ice that's under, or it's kind of frozen underground, would thaw and recede.
Well, now, I'm going to bring up a weird question here, but a scene from that movie, with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
Where that thing says, "Get your ass to Mars."
Yeah.
Remember they found the machine in the ground?
Mm-hmm.
It was built by the aliens, and he pushes the button, and then of course it releases all that steam, melts the ice, and then there's oxygen, there's an atmosphere, and all that. Who's to say there isn't one?
There might be, and there are special black ops projects by the U.S. government for moon bases, Mars bases. So we may already be there, or we may be trying to terraform such locations.
Right.
For example, look at Ceres. There's a city on Ceres. It's a city. You could study it. There's a building the size of the Empire State Building. There's a lot of different structures in that crater. Maybe that's us. Maybe we went to Ceres. Maybe, if you have billions of dollars, you can do anything. You can build the most powerful rockets. You can do it. And so that's what I think. Our government has a lot of billions and billions of dollars. Fort Knox is supposed to be empty, maybe because they spent it on a moon base.
That's
maybe
true.
Maybe those machines do exist. Maybe they're doing it to terraform these other planets and moons, so that way they can try to sustain themselves in the future. Maybe our government knows the end of Earth is coming.
And who's to say that the aliens didn't give them the technology to do that?
Yeah, that's another possibility right there. Another theory.
There's so many unanswered questions. You'd have to dig and dig, and of course, Uncle Sam's going to make sure some of the stuff you dig for ain't going to come easy.
Oh, they're never going to tell either.
Yeah, so, they may have that technology. You never know. And it may
I
be
think
given to them
it's possible.
by, extraterrestrial. Because you got to figure that some of the places probably that they inhabit may not have been their original planet. Maybe their planet was dying and they went to another one and they terraformed it to suit them with technology that they built.
With technology, you can do anything. You could revive a dead person with technology.
Exactly.
I mean, if you have the technology, you can do it. Nothing is impossible according to most scientists when it comes to having the tech. If you have the technology, you can kill cancer as it starts. It's just
they had cure for that in the 70s.
Well, see, here's the thing. Humans may be a couple million years in advance, maybe less. An alien species could be 1 billion years advanced. And in 1 billion years, what could you do? What could you do in 1 billion years? You could build ships to fly to other galaxies in 1 billion years.
Well, yeah.
So that when these aliens visit us, you know you're in the presence of something very intelligent and beyond our own understanding.
Exactly.
And so therefore it is definitely paranormal.
And so, we're either going to be easily manipulated, or the people in the government with the power and everything is going to try to keep all that shit to themselves. They may understand what it is and how it works, but they're not going to let us know about that.
It's greed. It's for self-gain.
And I hate to do this, but we got about 2 minutes left. I want to thank everybody in the chat room: Marianne, Mars, Dita, Mike, CJ, of course, and you, Lord Rick, for coming on with us tonight. I had a blast. This has been awesome.
Yeah, it's been a fun show. I enjoyed it.
Okay. I want to know where we can find anything that there is to find about Rick, because I love reading his stuff and listening to everything that he says. So can you give us some information?
Go up and join his page on Google Plus too. There's a lot of information on there.
Oh yeah. Well, on Google Plus, just type in The Paranormal Ghost Society, and it'll pop up under group search. We're on Facebook, The Paranormal Ghost Society, and it's just Paranormal Ghost Society, not the. And then you can go to our website, www.paranormalghostsociety.org, and if you type in my name, you can find me anywhere. It's AngelOfThyNight, and that's also our YouTube if you want to see some UFO videos and other pieces of evidence that we're working on and our current research.
A lot of good information on all those sites. Everybody go check it out. Lord Rick has got lots of good information, and the Google page up there is awesome. I go up there. I'm not there a lot, but I go up there and check everything out. And how can you say there's just so much out there to learn, and I love learning, so.
Same here.
Yeah, thanks Marianne, thanks Dita, Mars, Mike, Rick, everybody listening out there by iPhone, tablet, computers, however you're tuning in. Couldn't have a show without you. We appreciate you very much. We'll be back here next week with Mr. Haunted, so everybody tune in. Don't want to miss that one. With that being said, fare thee well, everybody. Until next Monday, parting is such sweet sorrow.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.